G'day fellas, and welcome to a different type of video. Normally I don't post coaching content outside of my Patreon, but this is a little different. Welcome to Stray Texel's Reddit post. Here, Stray Texel posits that whenever he, as Abbasid, sees that he is matched with Chinese, now he knows exactly what strat they're going to open with. It's literally 100% of the time for the past month or two, mass Chukunu, usually supported by Rams. Now, the title of this post is Chukunu is utterly broken. He says that he's read similar posts to this, and everyone says that Chukunu can melt cavalry, Chukunu melt 2 cavalry, I apologize. Chukunu can be stopped with ranged armor upgrades, and Chukunu can be stopped with towers. I've tried combinations of all of the above. They're all fundamentally wrong. The unit is too powerful and too cheap. Again, literally 100% of Chinese players I encounter are all doing the same exact thing. There has never been a more glaringly overpowered unit in Age of Empires 4 thus far. I'm shelving the game until this is fixed. It's just not fun anymore with this exploit in play. Now, I can break down this Reddit post and explain why we're wrong, but what we're also going to be doing is reviewing the games that are being played here by Stray Texel. Now, his Reddit name is the same as his in-game name. He's actually played 3 games recently, all as the Abbasid dynasty, all up against the Chinese. 1 game here on Altai, 1 game here on Lipany, and another game here on Altai. And they all end very quickly, 14 minutes, 50 seconds. And I think these were 16 and 17 minutes respectively. So just to talk a little bit about this before we get into it, and just to, I guess, not to toot my own horn, but to just sort of sell out to you guys. If you're interested in seeing coaching content, check out the Patreon. There's absolutely plenty of it there. But let's talk a little bit about this post and about why it's wrong. So at the moment, Chukunu are strong. I'll give you that, but it's definitely not the most overpowered unit in history for Age of Empires 4. Do I need to remind you of the Springald? Oh my lord, that was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. They were insane, 60 damage. That was crazy. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's start. Let's take a look. We're going to have a look at the first game here. Now, I don't know how many of these games we're going to review, and we're not going to focus on the minutia of what Stray Texel is doing. If his build order is out a little bit, that's not going to interest us a bit. We're going to be talking about the macro side of things. What is the bigger picture? What could he be doing differently to change the outcome of this game? Now, from a standpoint of playing up against China, the number one thing that you're going to be looking for here against China is stone and second town center. You want to know, as an Abbasid player, or anybody for that matter, is China looking for an aggressive second town center? That's going to be the big question. So I'm going to be making sure that Stray Texel is scouting and making sure that he's checking that on his enemy. We also see he's going with a double scout opening, which isn't standard, I would say. But against China, it does make a lot of sense. You are kind of denying them food. So we're going to speed up the game here a little bit. But I would advocate against that second scout. I don't think it's necessary at the moment. Now, this villager going to be moving out here as well. Bit of a delay on that house. I think we might go idle here just for a second. And I know we said we're not going to talk about the minute details. You know what? That was like 0.2 of a second. A second will allow it. So the big thing here is making sure he scouts what the enemy's doing, because that's going to give him an indication as to what he can do. If a second town center is coming up, that gives him a little bit more time. He can even think about going for a third town center himself. If it's only going to be a 1 town center play from China, then that's where you need to be a bit more reactive. That's where you really need to be looking at scouting out every single movement from China and looking to be aggressive against them. That's the key factor here. You have to be aggressive. You can't let them get to your base. One of the primary reasons you can't let China get to your base, you guys would have seen the video, it's the Chukunu on top of stone walls. If that happens, there's no way you're defending that. But there's a trick to that, and that is not letting that happen. There's also the option of aging up. Now, we can see that you're actually quite late with your age up here. Your House of Wisdom has not been completed early enough, and as a result, you're going to be late on your age up. It's not a huge deal. It just is going to limit when you can add in your second town center. It's also going to change when you actually get fresh foodstuffs as well. So now we've reached this point in the game where you need to start scouting. You need to start looking, what's China doing? What's the base layout here? The big question that you're going to have is stone. Now, this isn't their first stone. You can see it's quite far away. So the other stone is going to be in the back of the base right here. So you need to make sure that you've got a scout that's sitting back here and you're checking for this. The next thing that you're going to be checking for is the Song Dynasty. Of course, they're going to be going for that Song Dynasty, but you want to make sure that you are aware of the timings and whether they're starting to produce Chukunu or not. So we'll take a look at how you play it out from this opening. Once again, not critiquing the build order. We're looking at the macro perspective here, trying to understand. And now you see a villager moving out, putting down a house on top of that stone outcropping. got plenty of sheep here, so one of the thing that you can do is move the sheep from this scout over to this scout and then send this scout back. Once again, population blocked. So instead of sending both of your... Right now, you're sending both of your scouts back to base, right? What you want to be doing is only sending one of your scouts back to base with all these sheep, because that's a lot of sheep. You want to make sure that they're safe and secure. You did a really good job in gathering them. Send the sheep from this scout over to this scout, and then send this scout back over towards the enemy base. Let's see if you do it. Looks like you're just going to be doubling up here. So always be cautious with that. We'll take a look now over at your base. You're quite heavy on gold at this point, so... The typical thing to be going for as the Abbasid dynasty is a second town center. Okay, now you've picked up fresh foodstuffs, which is the correct move. You've also gone for wheelbarrow. That's great. But why are you gathering gold now? What else do we need gold for here? What are we trying to achieve with gold? We're not going for early spearmen, so we're not getting the upgrade for them. We're not going for a fast castle here, at least I assume so. So what I would recommend is you need to find an Abbasid build order and actually work on that build order. Make sure that you're using the in-game timer to test your timings, because that's going to be a real key factor in measuring your performance. It's going to be those timings. So you're actually picking up horticulture here. I wouldn't recommend this. Instead of picking up horticulture here, which has cost you a huge amount of resources, instead, just look to pick up Golden Age. Spend 300 wood on dropping down houses, and instead give a 15% bonus to all of your gather rates here instead of a technology like this, because this is only slowing down your town center, and it's only slowing you down as well. So make sure that you're focused on the right things in the early game. Now, you're also missing that scout. Remember, we talked about scouting. What do we know yet? We know that China isn't going for a second town center. They should have gone for a second town center by now, which means they're probably going to be going all in. And now we can start thinking about formulating a response to that. Our second town center should have been down by now, but once again, we're going to be looking at the macro perspective here. Another technology we don't need, forestry. We don't need this technology. We're wasting our resources here. So once again, let's just continue moving forward. You're going for a very early mill. Now, one thing to note is you're going for this early mill, but you're about to have a metric shit ton of sheep coming through. So you're putting villagers, they're having to walk really far away from your starting base. They're in a bit of a dangerous position here. Forward, you've had to spend resources on the mill. You're spending resources on something that you don't need right now. You've got sheep that have just come in. You had a sheep under your town center. You could have used this instead, but you didn't. Another upgrade coming through. Useless at this point. Specialized pick. You don't need this. What do you need? You need your second town center. So what I'm going to do, recommend you head over to Beastie Cutie's channel. If you haven't seen it, type in Beastie Cutie SC2 and search for Abbasid Guide. He's going to show you a great way that you can open here with the Abbasid dynasty. The goal is that you're going to be getting fresh foodstuffs. You're going to be getting wheelbarrow, and you're going to be getting a second town center as quickly as you can. Once you've done that, that's your opening, okay? Once you've done the opening, then you can start thinking about the response that you're going to be formulating to the Chinese player. Now, we know that Song Dynasty has come through from the Chinese player. We know that there's no second town center going to come down. So you can almost guaranteed assume right here that China is going to be dropping an archery range and going to be looking to all in you. Now, we know the length of the game. We can see it right there, 16 minutes. So the game is obviously going to be a quick one. But now, a forward outpost is going to be the choice of your enemy. We're going to speed it up a little bit here. Outpost comes down. Keep in mind, Chinese villagers build extra fast. All right. Cool. So this right here is just... It's one of those things where it just shouldn't be happening, right? Why shouldn't this be happening? Because you shouldn't be out here with this mill. There's no need for it. And if he gets an outpost up, what do you care? That's fine. That's not a big deal. Your main focus needs to be getting that second town center up and formulating a response. Now, behind this, we also see that you've been population blocked for quite some time. And we don't actually have a house coming up for you at the moment. So I would recommend the best thing that you can do is focus more on your game plan back at home rather than what your enemy's trying to put out here and respond to this. Because you're never going to win an outpost war with China. They can always bring more villagers. They're always going to build faster than you. So you're never at the advantage. All right, so we're going to largely ignore that. Chukanu are going to be coming out shortly. Let's speed it up a little bit more. Because, once again, this is one of those things where it's like, you don't need to be doing this. You don't need to have the villagers here. So, horsemen now coming out. Good. This is great. This is step one of our reaction to China. So, we take a look. Your scout behind the base. What is it really doing here? What do we see? The answer is not a lot. Okay, we want to be double-checking the stone. We want to be, okay, he's taken 0 off the stone. and then subsequently saying, okay, it's probably going to be an all-in. So how do we deal with that? Well, we need to know what type of all-in is it going to be. Is it going to be only Chukunu, or is there also going to be Spearmen mixed in it? Because if it's only Chukunu, that is a different response than whether there's Spearmen mixed in. If there are Spearmen mixed in, we need to make archers for ourselves. If there are no Spearmen mixed in, then we are happy to make horsemen, and we can make horsemen all day. You've got one stable at the moment, but those are rookie numbers. We need to bump those numbers up, and Now, I guess, is a great time to talk about our next point. If we pause the game, take a look at the resources you've got in the bank at the moment. More than 1,000 gold, more than 700 food that's just sitting there. Now, that's great if you're looking to age up. But playing against China, playing against this kind of Chokunu strategy, you can go for that option. You can look for a mangonel in the castle age, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's a bit more of an advanced strategy. When it comes to our resources, we want to make sure that we're always spending our resources as quickly as we can. Stacking up 1,000 gold right now, it's not a good way to spend our resources because they are just sitting there, they're doing nothing, and as a result, we're not using them the way that we could be. Let's continue watching and see what happens. Because the horsemen are now going to be moving in on the backside. Now remember, ideally at this point, you should have your second TC up and you're producing villagers. Now, if you know that the Chinese player is not going for a second town center, then your 2 town centers are going to outscale his 1 town center. Even if he's got Song Dynasty, you're still going to outscale him. So what you're doing here is a risky play because your defense is going to be horsemen. You need these guys alive. You don't want to be doing damage to his economy because your economy is going to be greater than his anyway. And now you're throwing away a unit to the front of the base. Remember that you've actually got 2 scouts out. Okay, here's your second one. So you could have pulled this guy up and he could have been your front scout. But instead, you've rallied everybody over here. And now once again, you're going to be losing some horsemen. And remember, horsemen are very, very weak, okay? I would be surprised. I didn't see the numbers right there, but I suspect you probably didn't kill a single thing in here. It's a waste of time. Don't bother raiding with horsemen at this level in the early game. It's more important that you keep these units at home, building up your mass. And already we can see it starting to fall apart. Chukunu numbers starting to rise. We're just going to speed it up because obviously we know what the inevitable is. And now China's walling up, and keep in mind China is still here on 1 base. So you've got the economic advantage. And now the battering ram push is going to come in. But at this point, it doesn't matter. At this point, the game is, for all intents and purposes, already over. You're aging up to the 3rd age. Mangonel is going to be a reasonable response here for you. You can look to get a Mangonel out, but the problem is you don't have a lot of infantry. Your production's on the front of your base, which means it's going to be eaten alive. And you're just going to... you got to be so careful with these units because the Chokunu are now coming up. They will eat these units absolutely alive. Looks like you're going for military wing, so normally you'd expect culture wing to come out. So what you're doing here is, it's a bit of a suicide attack, right? There's nothing to gain from this. You can look at these Chokunu and very easily say, I'm not going to be able to beat these. And if you know that you're not going to be able to beat them, then why are you attacking? Because you're throwing away units that you could be attacking with later, once you've got a decent force that's built up. And that's the issue right here. So I appreciate that, you know, from watching this game. So I've watched enough in this game. We can resume. We don't need to know. We don't need to know how it ends. But already from there, we can see that there is so much to work with just from that first game. Let's take a look at the second game though and get a better understanding of the way that you react, because that was your first game up against China. Maybe you change the way that you play. Maybe you go for a bit of a different build order. Let's have a look at game number 2. It's on Lipany here. So this one goes for 17 minutes. So a little bit longer than the last one, but still obviously a quick game. It ends with a defeat of you, so you do lose. But let's once again take a look at the way that you're playing. So this time I'm going to go in with a little bit more of a scrutineering eye. Let's see what we can find. Okay. Oh, that was my phone going off. I'm not sure if you guys heard that. If so, apologies. So you've opened up a second scout again. Once again, I wouldn't recommend this. I think just going with your own villagers is fine. When it comes to your scouting path, you want to be scouting more aggressive. You want to be scouting towards the middle of the map. You can see right now that your enemy has come in and taken away all of your sheep. So you want to be scouting towards your enemy's base rather than scouting towards the edges of the map, because you go scout towards the edges of the map and he's taken everything in the middle. So that is another thing to consider. Build order coming in. I don't know what the exact build order is for the Abbasid dynasty, but this feels like way too many villagers on gold here. So remember, we want to cross the 200 gold threshold when we cross the 400 gold threshold. You're crossing 200 gold, you've got 169 in the queue, and that's because you've got so many villagers here. So we need to pull 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 300 food. So pull some of these villagers out of queue, get your age up in a bit earlier. But as we can see, once again, your House of Wisdom is late. You need to make sure this House of Wisdom is ready to go so you can click the button and age up immediately upon having the resources to click up. And then you can already look to get that fresh food stuffs. So I would just say, look to refine your early game a little bit more. We'll talk about how we're going to refine the early game after this game. I will show you how you can make it so that you're on the equivalent standing as the pros are. And I say that sincerely and seriously. You can do this. All right, so wheelbarrow coming in. Fresh food stuff's about to come through. Once again, you're gathering gold for what? Remember, we want to get that second town center up. So you're doing a much better job scouting this game. You want to just be keeping your scout down here. The stealth forest is a perfect option for you because you want to be looking at the stone, remember? It's all about the stone. It's not about the gold. It's not about anything else. It's just about the stone. Second scout moving out. And now you're going for a blacksmith here. Okay. So the best thing that you can do to open with here is going to be a town center, and then after your town center, straight into a stable. That's the best way that you can play this. Doing a much better job scouting this game, but still not scouting the most important thing, which is the stone. You do see the blacksmith. The blacksmith gives it away. As soon as you see a blacksmith against China, you know what's coming. Okay, you know that with a blacksmith, that's +1 ranged attack coming in. But lots of villagers coming out as well. Now, by this time, you should have a stable. You do have a stable, but you haven't been producing out of it. We're at 7 minutes into the game right now. You're on 1 town center, and you've got no military units at all. Absolutely nothing. And now in an emergency, you're dropping down a 3rd stable. But at this point, the game is already so far away from your potential victory because of the lack of refinement in what you're doing. So I want you to understand that when you say things on Reddit, if we take a look right now, I should probably close that down as well. So on Reddit, you talk about, you say, I'm shelving the game until it's fixed. It's not fun anymore with this exploit in play. And you say that the unit is too powerful and too cheap. And look, I understand that there is a purpose for... players should be able to critique a game, but at the same time, it's important that we look internally and understand that there are things that we can do to become better players. And that whilst, yes, at the moment, China is very strong, the Chukunu is very strong, there are ways that you can beat it. I say this as a China main because I know I come up against it every day. I play players that are worse than me, and despite doing a strategy that's similar to this, I still lose. So let's continue watching. I'm curious how he moves forward with the villagers. It's just going to be a forward Barbican here. So, and this is a really late forward Barbican, 7 minutes 50. Once again, you've got a lot of villagers here on gold. 8 villagers on gold. Rather unnecessary. So you're going to come out, you're going to spot this. And already we've got a bit of a problem just because of the forward Barbican. Had we had units out to stop those villagers from doing that, it might have been a different story. Once again, a raid coming in. You don't pick up any villagers. Instead, you lose 1 horseman. Still no villagers. Lose a 2nd horseman, 3rd horseman. You lost 3 horsemen and a scout for nothing. So don't bother with those raids. Okay, hold on. Why are we getting the phalanx upgrade? It increases the attack range of spearmen by 100%. 100% increase on the attack range of spearmen isn't going to help them against Chukunu. I mean, it might in some sort of universe where you've got triple the amount of spearmen that he's got Chukunu, but that is not a universe that we exist in. So you need to be thinking about the relevancy of your upgrades. At this point, you've picked up, let's have a look. You've picked up all of your eco upgrades, which is great, except for horticulture, which is arguably the most important one. I would avoid picking this up. Let's take a look at your upgrades here. Okay. And so at this point, I just feel like, once again, the game moves towards this position of not being tenable for you. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways that we can turn this around, the ways that you can improve as a player, because I don't want to dwell on these games right here. It's not about dwelling on these games, but rather it's about helping you improve as a player. So what I want you to do, go over to AoE4 World, okay? And from here, what you're going to do is you're going to go up to the top and you're going to hit watch. This little trick is going to save you so much hassle. And we're going to pick Civilization, Abbasid Dynasty. That's the Civ that we're watching. And then we're going to go and make it other Civ, Chinese. And I'm going to find all games that have been live streamed on Twitch with these civilizations. And here I can see that about 3 hours ago, Give You Anxiety, who's one of the best players in the world, played a game as the Abbasid dynasty against China. And he won that game in 35 minutes. So it was a long game. It was a slugfest. And what I'm going to do is I'm then going to click this button right here. And this is going to take me over to his Twitch page where he's actually playing. And I can watch him play that game in real time. But if I don't want to watch him play that game in real time, instead if I want to go at my own pace, what I can then do is come into, let me show you how I did that. I'm going to open my friends list. I'm going to hit add. And I'm going to type in Give You Anxiety's name. Give You Anxiety, like that. I'm going to click on his profile page once it loads up. Keep in mind, I got some pretty decent internet. And then I'm going to go to his match history. And I'm going to look for that game. We know it was on Lipany. And then from here, we're going to be able to watch this game in the client. And I'm going to be able to study what he's doing and understand what his timings are. I'm going to bring out my notepad and I'm going to start writing down the things that he's doing so that I can practice this myself and I don't have to constantly refer. Okay, so already we're seeing 6 vil to berries, okay, with a mill, okay? And then for his build order, he's just going with 1 scout. So I'm just going to write 1 scout opening, okay? We're going to speed it up a little bit. So we're on 4 times speed. He builds the House of Wisdom straight away at the beginning of the game. And then looks like he's moving. How many villagers are we going to see come out to gold here? So we see 3 villagers coming out to gold. So he's going for 7 villagers on food, 3 on gold. And I'm starting to learn the build order. So already I can just write down things like, okay, 6 vils to berries, 3 vils to gold, and then 2 vils to sheep. So already we have an understanding of the most efficient use of our time in the early game. Now you can look to try and improve on this, but just appreciate this guy is a Conqueror 3 player, one of the best in the game, top 100, very, very solid. And the age up comes through. So we just saw right there, the age up came through at 2 minutes and 24. 2 minutes 24 age up. What I want you to do from that is I want you to then go into your own game, your own skirmish game. You're going to start a single player game, go skirmish, and you're going to change it over to the Abbasid dynasty. You're going to put an easy AI as your opponent. You're going to make sure that all of your settings are correct, and you're going to jump into the game. And then what you're going to do is you're going to look to emulate that exact same opening. And look at that, we got a Chinese opponent. The AI is like, you want to play a tough game? Let's play right here. So what am I going to do? I'm going to queue vils in my town center, and then I'm going to send all my villagers out to berries, and then I'm going to move my scout. Let's do it. Town center, berries, then I'm going to move my scout out around the map, and I'm also going to be making a mill. We can make a mill probably with 2 villagers here. So let's drop that down. Make sure these sheep come back. We're going to keep the sheep under the town center. Now with his first villager, he made a House of Wisdom. Let's keep scouting out towards the center of the map. Remember, we always want to scout in front of our base first. We're going to put our House of Wisdom down. We'll go right there. And then we'll make a mining camp. And I think we're also going to be getting a house down here as well. We might do that with the next villager because it takes a bit of time for that to come in. Just going to scout out around the side of our base. I saw a sheep up there, so I'll go and grab those 2. And so now I'm going to put a house down, so I might put it right there, leave a bit of space for some farms. And so I'm going to bring these sheep just under the town center so they're all on the same side, all at the front like that. And now I've got my landmark is built, my House of Wisdom. And now I've got all my 3 villagers moving out here at the same time. I might send 1 to gold first, and then these 2 can build. Make sure that my town center's not idle. I can queue up a whole bunch of villagers in that. I'm not too fussed about it. But now I'm going to be rallying to sheep here. And so what this is going to do, it's going to give me 10 gold from this guy, and then all 3 of these guys should hopefully be synced together. Boom. And then that means that we're going to hit 200 gold at the same time because 3 trips of 30 will give us 90 gold here. So just continuing to scout around with our scout, looking for those sheep. Seems like we've got most of the sheep from around our base, so we'll just take these back for now. I might just rally them to my house here. And then after they reach the house, I'm just going to rally them to the town center. So that way I can send my scout out onto the map to go find some stuff a little bit earlier. I'm going to queue up another villager. And so now you can see I've got 6 sheep under the town center. I always want to be prioritizing these sheep over other resources because these are more dangerous resources out here in front of my base. Just thinking back to the first game that you played where it was a little bit dangerous, the position that you had. And now I think I might rally to a straggler tree. I don't know exactly what GUA's build order was, but you can see we now have enough resources, and there's the age up coming through. So it was a 218 age up. So there you go. So you can look to emulate this as well, and you can build this as a part of your plan. You've got the very first piece of your puzzle that you need right here. And so just jumping back into the GUA game, let's just get a bit of an idea about how GUA looked to play this. What did he do differently in his game compared to your games? So, you know, that's a bit of a way that you can improve your game, and you can keep doing that, right? Like, there are games that I'll go watch. I'll go watch Beastie Cutie. I'll go watch Marine Lord, and I'll see what they're doing up until the 10th minute, and I will copy that and look to emulate that and see if I can pull off the same timings that they can. And then I'll go one step further. I'll look to improve it, and that's how we get these refined build orders. That's how we get these better build orders that build up over time. The reason why Anomi has got the best Chinese build order is because he took what someone else did and made it better, made it 10 times better. And that's how we have the fastest 2TC Song Dynasty in the game right now, coming out for China at 5 minutes 50. It's crazy. So the age up comes through for GUA. What does he do in the transition period? He's still gathering gold here, but only 2 villagers on gold. Sheep come back, straggler trees getting chopped, moving over to a lumber camp. 1 villager on gold. Take a look at that. He's not getting his wheelbarrow. He's not getting a wheelbarrow. Instead, only saving up enough gold for fresh foodstuffs. We can see 134 gold right now. So as soon as he ages up, he's going to get fresh foodstuffs. Boom, there it comes. And you can see he's dropping down all of these houses. So he's going to hit his tier 1 golden age. Remember, you were doing the technologies. You were getting horticulture. You were getting specialized pick. You were getting double broad axe. And those technologies all cost resources. It's 150 resources each. He just got the equivalent of that right now for free. I mean, he had to build a couple of houses, but you're going to need to build those houses anyway. So it makes sense to get them out. And so from that, from going into that golden age, what's he going to do next? And keep in mind, we're at 4 minutes 30 into this game. This is very early. Stable comes down immediately. So he's looking to put on early aggression towards the Chinese player. Also, an archery range going to come up. We'll slow it down a little bit just so we can get an understanding of what he's doing here. Still no wheelbarrow in, by the way. Horseman moving across the map. Scout coming out. Let's see what he does with the scout, where he moves it. He's just chilling out for the moment. He's moving around to the gold mine. He's looking to check the stone. He sees the stone. He knows that it's going to be 2 town centers. But he comes in. He's just being annoying on the gold. Let's pause. What's he doing back home? He's also taking stone for his 2nd town center. So from here, we can use AoE 4 World to understand what players at the top level are doing in difficult matchups that we're having problems with as well. I apologize if I've come in hot into this video, but when you go and post something on Reddit that says that, you know, that it's not fun anymore and that it's an exploit, I guess I take it a little bit personally because I love this game, I love China, and I lose with China quite a lot, so I know that it is possible to beat Chukunu as a Chukunu enjoyer. But I hope that you're able to take something away from this video because very clearly you're upset with the game. You might be upset with yourself, with how you performed, and that is perfectly okay. That is a part of improvement, but it's important to know that you can get better as a player, and that if you do genuinely enjoy Age of Empires 4, that you can get better at the game, and you can learn to love the game in the state that it currently is. I hope that this has been an insightful video for anybody else who's watching this on YouTube. If you're interested in seeing more coaching content, make sure you check out Patreon. There's plenty of exclusive coaching content that is posted over there. Other than that, that is it, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.